What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in this video I'm going to be discussing the format that I'm going to be covering next on the channel, because if you missed my last video, that was sort of the wrap-up to my main coverage of Android format. I am planning on returning to the format in the future, like when the Android tournament that's currently going on wraps up, but for now, we're going to be focusing on LON format, which is kind of like going out of order. Going into Android format, I sort of skipped over LON format because I felt like it was too similar to Android was, and Android was much more popular, so I figured I'd cover the much more popular version. But there are some differences that can potentially come up. So if you don't know, on this channel, we generally try and go in chronological order, just tracking the developments of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game and exploring these old formats. So generally when a new set releases, we cover sort of like unlimited format, where we play with all the cards in that new pack at 3 copies and see what results from it. These formats aren't really played anywhere else, and they aren't even really official. They're more like what-if sort of formats, but people seem to enjoy exploring them, so I do cover them. And Labyrinth of Nightmare was the last core booster set that was introduced to Imperial to give us Android. So you might wonder what a format with Labyrinth of Nightmare at 3 copies and the Imperial format limited list would look like. Well, the Imperial format limited list, of course, didn't have new cards like Magic Cylinder, Mage Power, and United We Stand, so all of these cards would be not on this list. And also it had Sangan at 2 copies. So that's what the limited list for this LON format would be, and honestly that doesn't change much. It does, of course, boost decks that use these equip spells, like Hayabusa Knight decks. With multiple mage powers, Hayabusa Knight can OTK a lot more consistently. Of course, there's no way to search out mage power, but just having 3 copies in your deck will enable you to draw them more often, and that can be very helpful. United We Stand, I don't really think is as abusable. As I mentioned in my Hayabusa Knight video for Android format, I actually prefer Act of Despair to United We Stand at this point in the game's history, as I think it's a bit better in more situations, and there are less ways to abuse United We Stand than there will be in the future. So I actually think that bringing this to 3 copies doesn't really change much. The big thing here is Mage Power to 3 copies, and I think that will be a boon for equipped decks, so I will be exploring what those sorts of equipped decks look like in LON format. The other big change, I think, is with Magic Cylinder being at 3 copies. I do think that burn decks can benefit a bit from that. There are ways to play around Magic Cylinder, but given the high attack values in this format and the aggressive nature of it, I do think that having 3 copies can be pretty decent and can potentially go a long way in burning your opponent out. So I am planning on featuring a burn deck with 3 Magic Cylinders in it. Other than that, I think that there would be slight changes to the typical Beast Spellcaster lists. I do think that 3 Magic Cylinder, as well as some Mage Powers, would potentially see experimentation in those lists, as, cards that can allow you to get more aggressive, or in the case of Magic Cylinder, allow you to get more defensive while also getting more aggressive. And I definitely think that 2 Sangans would definitely be a staple in all of these sort of Beast Spellcaster decks. But since I've covered Beast Spellcasters so much in Android format, and since I think the deck really doesn't change too much, I'm just going to focus on the equipped decks and the Magic Cylinder decks. And then I'll be moving on into the next format, which will be another unlimited format actually, in Silly Snake. I generally don't spend too much time in these unlimited hypothetical formats because, frankly, they're not exactly what people want to see. People generally want to see the official formats that people actually play. But they should be a lot of fun, so let me know down in the comments below if you're looking forward to seeing me explore this format a little bit and what else you'd like me to explore in the future. But until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.